မင်္ဂလာပါဆိုဆိုပါရှင်ဆိုဆိုအင်ဂျင်နီယာရောင်းဝယ်ရေးချန်ကနေပြီးတော့ကြိုဆိုပါတယ်ဆိုတော့ဒီနေ့ကတော့ဆိုဒီ real estate နယ်ပယ်မှာအရင်အားကြနေတဲ့လူငယ်တယောက်ရှိတယ်အဲ့ဒါလွန်ခဲ့တဲ့ပတ်တုန်းကသူ့ရဲ့အကိုဥက္ကနဲ့ interview လုပ်ပေးခဲ့တယ်ဒါကတော့သူ့ရဲ့ညီပေါ့နော်ဆိုဒီနေ့ရောက်စလုံးကတော့တကယ် rock star real estate ပိုင်းမှာဒါပေမဲ့ဒီနေ့ကမိတ်ဆွေတွေအတွက်ကိုခါတိုင်းကတော့အများနဲ့ပုံမှန်လိုပဲပြောဖြစ်တယ်ဒါပေမဲ့ဒီနေ့ကတော့ English လို့ပြောချင်တယ်ဘာဖြစ်လို့ English လို့ပြောချင်လဲဆိုတော့ဒီမြန်မာcommunity ကလူငယ်တွေကိုပို့ပြီးတော့နားထောင်စေချင်တယ်ဘာဖြစ်လို့ဆိုတော့ဒီအခုဒီ rock star သိန်းကတော့ you know တကယ်ကိုအားကြစရာကောင်းတဲ့လူငယ်တယောက်ဖြစ်တဲ့အတွက်ကြောင့်မို့လို့ဆိုတော့ဥပမာပေါ့ဆိုရင်ညီမလေးဆိုရင်ဒီ US မှာရောက်လာတာငငယ်ကလေးရောက်လာတယ်ဒါပေမဲ့သူဗမာလိုတော့ကောင်းကောင်းနားလဲတယ်ဒါပေမဲ့ဟိုဆိုပြောလို့မျိုးမပြောနိုင်ခဲ့ဘူးပေါ့နော်အဲ့လိုမျိုးလူမျိုးတွေလည်းသူတို့ကိုဒီ message လေးရစေချင်လို့အင်္ဂလိပ်လိုပဲပြောလိုက်မယ်အဲ့ဒါမှတခြားလူတွေအများစုလူငယ်တီးဖြစ်စေလူကြီးဖြစ်စေဟိုဒါနားလဲစေချင်လို့နော် okay so ပထမဦးဆုံးကတော့သိန်းနဲ့မိတ်ဆက်ပေးချင်တယ်ဆိုတော့သိန်းလွှာNo, so Tein Hlwa, welcome. Thank you so much for giving me your time today, and I'm excited to hear your stories. And your stories, you inspire me every day, bro. So I'm pretty sure that you know there's a lot more people that you will be inspired today. You inspired today. So first, tell me, you know, we want to know your background, your history, right? Your past, right? Where were you born? Where you come from? You know, what's that life? The childhood life, right? And then after that, then we want to know, you know, what are you doing now? Your present, where you at, where do you live? You have families, you know, all those. And then tell us, you know, what are you after? What's your mission? What's your vision? What drives you? What motivates you every day? So we want to know all about that. So first, you know, get the mic and then tell us your stories.
So yeah, I mean, you had the interview with my brother Oak, so it's gonna be a little similar. But yeah, I'm originally from Vonlaree. Moved to the well, my mom actually moved to the US, like I would say when I was a year or two old. And so she moved to the US for a better opportunity. I didn't get a chance to meet my dad. Unfortunately, they split up before then, and he went to a different country, and eventually passed away. But I moved to the US when I was 6-7 years old. So, you know, that's why my Burmese is not there. I acknowledge it, but never built that. So, you know, I moved here 6-7 years old. We moved to New York. That's where, you know, grew up, childhood, majority of my time in Queens, New York. You know, there's a good amount of Burmese people there now. But I don't think there was as many back then. At least I didn't know any because I was only a little kid. But yeah, I moved to Queens, New York, 6-7 years old. And you know, Queens, New York at the time, I mean, my mom was also a single mother. So, you know, moving to the US, single mother, saved up, pretty much brought me and my 3 brothers over from Burma to us here to the US in New York, you know, 6-7 years old. And in Queens, New York at that time was it was back in the 2000s, good amount of gang violence, drugs, things like that. You know, we grew up poor, I guess you could say, but it was, you know, at least better conditions than others that have seen it back in Burma, right? So we had a roof over our head. You know, there was a 2-bedroom apartment, 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment, me, my 3 brothers, and my mom. You know, my mom was always out working, single mom. My brothers were always out with their friends too, and not, so that's why I don't really speak Burmese. It was just me home alone majority of the time. But you know, it was one of those apartments that I do miss it nowadays. Just curious on what it looks like. But I know back then it was I didn't know any better. I didn't really care, but it was like, you know, we had roaches. It was one of those apartments you turn on the lights, roaches scatter. You know, you would hear the mice. You know, and I remember every now and then running into issues with bills. My mom running into issues with the bills. Landlord and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, you know, it's fast forward to today is a whole different story. But you know, and growing up in Queens, New York, it definitely helped me become who I am today. You know, going through some of the difficulties. I don't know if my brother shared at all, but you know, I mean, just in 2nd, 3rd grade, I think it was. My mom didn't have money to get like school supplies. So I ended up going out to Rite Aid, stealing school supplies, got caught. And then police detained me at like third grade or whatever. They thought I did for gang initiation, so they held me. Because there was a lot of gang violence back then. So then they held me, and then my mom came to pick me up from school, and it was actually like my stepfather now. But I think it was, I didn't know him too long at the time. I think it was one of the first occasions I got to meet him was when my mom had to come pick me up from the police station. I was like for stealing stuff. Yeah. So, and then, I mean, it was a bad area, but, it taught me a lot. It built, it built tough skin, I guess you could say. Because, first coming into the US and I didn't speak English, right? I was just learning Burmese as well because I was 6, 7 years old. The communication language barrier was there where, kids would make fun of me because I barely spoke English. And I know I got into some fights too. Yeah.
Is your mom stay in New York?
Oh, no, she's actually in Virginia. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'm in Virginia now as well. But originally from New York, now in Virginia. But yeah, I mean, back then when I first moved to the States, didn't speak any English and just barely knew Burmese because I was 6, 7 years old. Got into fights, got picked on. And it's crazy looking back now. Because now I have the total opposite problem where I don't speak I don't speak Burmese that good, but then I can speak English perfect, right? But I share that because obviously people out there that are first rush to the country, like we all been through it, I guess, I think at one point. I remember even on the airplane because I get motion sickness and my brothers didn't speak English, and then I was puking and they didn't know how to translate to get help. Yeah, but just it's quite interesting looking back now because I mean that like Queens, New York, for those that are in there back in 2000s was really bad. I remember I saw my first stabbing at like fourth, fifth grade. Walking home from school, I saw somebody it's just crazy stuff, gang violence, people getting jumped and whatnot. But then eventually, met my stepfather, moved out to Long Island, which is like a nicer area. Yeah, Long Island's nicer area. And then at that time, it's interesting because coming from like a poor area to Long Island, at that time, our family, it became, because I have 3 brothers, 3 real brothers, and I also have 3 stepbrothers. So it ended up being 7 of us in a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house.
Oh
so you can only imagine how that was in the morning, preparing for school, everybody fighting over the bathrooms.
Oh, the boys fight over a bathroom.
Yeah, and we were all in like the same grades too. So it was quite interesting going from poor to like where we went to a nice, like a richer area, but we were like lower middle income. It was 3, pretty much my mom, my dad, and then the 6 of us, all sharing in this one little house. And it's like, it was definitely nice. And now I look back at it, it's just like, at that point in time, when we got to that area, I was very jealous of like the other kids, because like all the other kids, they had their own, they were able to go on family vacations, do all these sorts of things, got their first car without doing anything for it, all that stuff. So and then we from Long Island, in Long Island, that's why I grew up from, I think, from 12 to until I'm about like 22, I think I was in Long Island. Eventually I ended up joining the Marine Corps, and got out in 2015, and then moved down here to Virginia. So Virginia, I moved down here April 2019, and that's when, it's I don't know if you know, but like I got licensed in I was a real estate agent in New York, but part-time agent. And then I got licensed down here in Virginia. And what I did was I had a W-2 job, like a full-time job. I was very like unhappy, depressed from the job. I bought my house down here using that job's income. And then after I closed on the home, I quit the job, and then I became a full-time agent down here in Virginia. Yeah, so that all happened in 2019. Yeah. So I didn't really know anybody down here either.
So what made you move to Virginia in the first place? What made you move to Virginia in the first place?
So I've been here I've been around this area when I was in the Marine Corps. I liked it. It's cheaper living, nice area, and it's actually 4 seasons. Like New York is just a majority is winter, and then you have summer for like 2-3 months. But down here, and my brother also, one of my stepbrothers also lived in the area. So he was the first one to move in the area, and then I ended up coming down here. You know, me and my wife, who's also an immigrant from Germany. So she liked Virginia as well because it was very coming from Germany to New York was a very overwhelming because it's very fast paced in New York. So then she liked Virginia as well. So we ended up moving down here. You know, I became a full-time agent and literally quit my job August 2019. And fast forward to today, 4 years in almost, in this upcoming August, it'll be 4 years. I've sold over 150 plus homes, have done over $50 million in volume. Didn't know anybody. So like all this was done through cold calling. And that was even stepping out of the comfort zone for me because my last job, I was in the IT industry. So, you know, I didn't really talk to, like, you know, I talked to people, but it was more customer service, people calling in, complaining, and then helping them out. And then went into a full-time sales job. And I think it had a lot to do with, you know, at that time, like I was saying, I was like super depressed with what was going on with my work, everything with life. And when I moved down here, it was just like, there was no going back. I quit my job. I bought a house. You know, it was just like on to the next chapter. And I just went all in on real estate. And, you know, that's where we're at now. I got an office space, got an employee and bringing on an agent. So we're growing out the team essentially. So
oh my God.
I know
okay,
it's
so I want to know
that's
that one little thing in between when you left New York that you know, and then moved to the area that you know no one, right? And then you quit your full-time job, which is the secure job, right? That pays the bills. And you went on in with a commission job that when you don't know anyone, where's that courage, you know, that comes in, that kick in, right? What makes you say that, hey, no, you know, this is it, right? Like that breakthrough. I want to know that because I'm struggling with that too, you know, coming from Fort Wayne, Indiana, that I know everyone, moving to Florida that I know I haven't known anybody yet, right? And then also have to work that commission job when you don't know when the bill next, you know, paycheck coming in. There's a lot of fears involved, right?
Yeah, and I think I mean I think a majority of my brothers like that we have that trait where we're risk takers, I guess you could say, and have the but I think we got that from my mom.
See that from Oak too.
Yeah, I think we got that from my mom because my mom is like really like, I mean, she came to the US, left her kids behind, right, to literally start fresh, and single mother raising us in New York, that wasn't cheap either. So like it just really comes down to courage and just like, because I mean, I'll tell you right now, I was scared shitless. Like my wife was too, but at the same time, like the way I was looking at it is I was really depressed with my last job and everything going on. So it was like it wasn't even about like money anymore at that point because I really wasn't getting paid that well either. It was just literally about like, all right, I need to do something that's gonna make me happier, not in a depressed state, right? So like just like just really coming down here, it just took it literally, like you said, it just took a lot of courage. And yeah, I definitely doubted myself throughout the ways too. Like there were times like, shit, am I doing the right thing? Because you know how real estate is, it takes a little while. So my first deal literally took me 3 months, right, to get my first deal. I had some money saved up, luckily, but that went fast. You know, especially everything went fast. Realistically though, like, because I started actually cold calling in New York down here, but I didn't do it consistently because I was in a part-time. But realistically, if you would consider that, it'd be like realistically like 8 months till I got my first deal, right? But like I don't really count it because when you go all in, you have all the time in the world to literally get that done. And there's a lot of hustle involved, you know, because like I did Uber and Lyft as well, like just because it literally came down to, all right, I'll hustle. I did Uber and Lyft at night and then would call, you know, pretty much call throughout the day, go on appointments, and then, you know, just, literally just getting by that way, Uber, Lyft, and then I would do real estate activities during the daytime and then spend some time with the wife, right? It really just for the people out there that's like worried, I was in the same situation too, but it's just a matter of like doing it anyways, right? And then what's the way I looked at it too, I was like, what's the worst that's going to happen? Like the worst that's going to happen is I end up failing in real estate and then I end up having to go pick up another job. Like that was literally my worst case scenario. I was like, that was it. But at the end of the day, my happiness was really more what I was looking for, right? Just to have the freedom, but the freedom doesn't really come with real estate either. That's if you look for, that's the one thing too, if you're an agent out there, if you get into the industry for freedom, and you actually take advantage of the freedom, it's not going to pay you well. Because if you treat it like a full-time job, that's when you actually start making serious money.
So since we are talking about that, there's a lot of people that I got phone calls from our Myanmar community, all over the states, right? Asking, well, we see you doing well. We want to do it too, right? So there's a lot of people who are thinking about or inspired to do, become a real estate agent. So tell us your experience a little bit that, just for the people who are thinking about coming to the industry.
Yeah, I think it's an amazing opportunity for everybody. But you also need to be real with yourself. That's where I think, because I coach agents as well. And majority of the agents that I see fail are the ones that aren't being real with themselves. And what I mean by that is just, they come in because they see the good side of real estate, but they don't see the backside of real estate. So like, in order for me to get to where I'm at today, my first year, it took me literally working till this day, I've worked really hard to just get, build a team up now, right? It's a different grind. But like my first year was literally cold calling from 8 o'clock in the morning to 5, 6 o'clock. And if I had appointments, then I would go on the appointments. But then if I didn't have appointments, it'd be more cold calling. And then Uber and Lyft, right? So I do Uber and Lyft to get some quick cash at the time. So like that was really the effort with Uber and Lyft and real estate, right? So like it takes it's a communication, you get paid for what we get paid for what we say and how we say, right? So it's a communication game. So you have to talk to a certain amount of people in order to hit a certain amount of numbers, right? And that's one thing I put in the YouTube video for me. The business plan, like people come in blind, they just think that deals are going to fall on their lap because they're a real estate agent now. But little do they know, in my area, there's 10,000 agents. So same, I don't, in Florida, I think it's a lot more.
I can't even count. Like there's like more than 8,000 agents just in one little MLS.
Yeah, everybody knows agents. So the deals aren't going to just fall on your lap. And people get into the industry where they're not real with themselves. Like if they think that the deal is just going to fall on their lap because they know people, but it's like, no, you have to reach out and let people know, even the people that are related to you, there's going to be times where you have to reach out. Otherwise they're going to end up going with somebody else because they forgot you're an agent even. So yeah. And, the people too, that gets really, they take advantage of the freedom, like I was saying, because no one is holding you accountable. Like at your last job, if you don't do your job, you're getting written up once or twice, and then eventually you get let go. In real estate, if you don't cold call, if you don't do anything, no one is going to be hovering over you or anything like that, right? So
and that's the problem, right?
Yep.
That's the problem that we put ourselves into, because now we don't have any accountability,
Yeah, and accountability is huge, and people also aren't coachable, from what I've seen. They say they are, but then when you tell them to do something, they don't do it. So that's because I don't know what it is. People just want to try something different. But to me, I'm not going to recreate something that I know works because someone else that's done it before me is teaching me that. And they just, people just don't listen to people that are more experienced. It's a great industry, but you have to be real. Like I'm working, especially if you're working the buyer side, you're out doing showings 7, 8 o'clock at night, Saturday, Sundays, right? Sometimes you do everything right. And you think closing's coming up. Your buyer goes out and buys a car or co-signs a car or go out and buy furnitures on their credit card for the new house. And the next thing you know, the deal falls apart, even though you did everything right. So there's those downsides that people don't think about. And it's amazing opportunity if you do it properly and if you listen to the right people. Otherwise, it's going to be something that you just have to go through it. That's really the best way to put it. So
All right. So thank you for sharing, your experience in your life, previously. But right now we want to know, Tein Hlwa, what are you doing right now? What are your focus? What are you focusing on? Why are you expanding to grow? Because I know that you have a big team now, right?
Yeah. So right now my focus is really being able to help like bringing on agents and helping them grow. And part of it is just really it feels nice seeing other agents also succeed, right? Off of like what you're teaching, like, yes, like this, you can do it, like, right. It's very nice seeing other people do well. And really that's just it, just really trying to help out more people. So, the team, my actual team, with the way I was set up is with, revenue share, the people I was telling you about is just in my downline, but then I've got really just my assistant and then an agent, right? But yeah, just my long-term vision is just growing this business out to where eventually I can step back a little bit and then, reap the rewards of all the hard work I'm putting in. That's also helping out, benefiting, the agents on the team, right? So that's what my long-term goal is really. Now I'm getting more into role of, coaching agents essentially, and I'm still in production. So I'm producing, I'm still in production, but that's what I get a little more enjoyment out of nowadays, is seeing other agents succeed.
Nice. That's amazing. That's very encouraging. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. I need to do that. I myself need to do that. So thank you. All right. So we want to know, where you're going next, right? What's your life journey in the future looks like, right? What are you chasing? What are you after, right? Share us more about that.
Yeah, right now, me and my wife, and we got 3 dogs, no kids yet.
Okay.
But we just moved into a bigger house, and we're hoping we'll eventually have some little ones running around in the next couple of years or so. So let's see. That's really what I'm looking forward to nowadays. And then as well, building this out and seeing other agents succeed. And maybe eventually expanding into other states. Let's see.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
What's the retirement life look like?
Yeah. What do you mean? Like,
so your brother shared about his visions of retiring,
oh
not
yes. So
until like
my
60 years old, right? Like, so
yeah.
he's working his butt off right now so that he can retire early, enjoying the life with families and stuff. What's yours?
Yeah. So mine is actually retired by 35.
So how old are you now?
So I'm 30 now. I got 5
You're
years left.
30? Oh my
So,
goodness.
and here's my definition of retirement. My definition of retirement is being able to do what I want when I want and not really have to listen to anybody. So how I'm doing that is through real estate investing. I buy rental properties and then, long-term, short-term rentals. But
What
that's
do you have in your portfolio right now?
right now I have about 12 doors. So it's multifamilies. So I think altogether, like actual property is 7 or 8, but multifamily, so it's like 12, 13 doors, something like that. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and
So you started purchasing those?
I started like it was the end of 2020. I know I needed I think it was a year or 2 years for tax returns wise. It was either the end of 2020 or the beginning of 2021.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're growing so fast.
Yeah.
In the
Oh, it's because I'm doing it intentionally. Like I've had my goal of retiring by 35 since I don't know why 35 specifically, but like that was since like I was in New York actually. And so that's actually how I got into real estate, is I wanted to get into real estate investing. And in New York, it was just too expensive. And I started exploring the other options, and then I started looking into other states, and we liked Virginia. And then, to purchase properties over here isn't as much as New York, depending on, where you're buying. So I bought down here, and then that's when we started investing. And it was very intentional. So I think it's like, if you visualize it and you're very intentional about it, you'll eventually get it. Like everything that has happened so far, like I was very intentional about what I was going to earn my first year. Like I was in my head and my mind, and I was taking the actions. Very intentional about my second year, what I was, what I wanted to get. And same thing, as you have to be very intentional. Things don't just fall on your lap if you're not like out there looking for it. So some of the deals that literally fell in my lap was like, I'm cold calling and stumbled across it and numbers work. So.
Mm. So based on your, because that's one thing that I want to encourage our Myanmar community is because they own the house, right? They own one house already, but then all the saving that they have, they didn't know where to put it. And most of them, haven't got a chance to learn about the stocks option yet, right? So the easiest way, to do is the real estate investing, right? Because you have an agent that can help you. You don't have to do all the ins and out, right? So so that's one thing I want to encourage our Myanmar community to get more into the real estate investing, because they can do it, and then they have us as a professionals who's working day and night in this industry that willing to help them, right? So what is one thing that you would say to those people who are hesitating, wanted to get into it but still thinking about it, based on your experience? Teach us something, because I need it too for myself too.
Well, what I've personally experienced is the first one is the toughest one. Like, because you just have so much fear about it, about everything that can go wrong. But then now I have like total opposite problem. I have the opposite problem where it's like, crap, I really want to buy that, and I really can buy it, but should I buy it? like literally, like the other day I had to turn down the deal. Like I really wanted it, but at the same time, it's like, all right, let me focus on my real estate team building right now instead of adding on more properties. And yeah, like like you said, the stocks, like I looked into stocks too. It was too confusing for me. But real estate is very simple. And it's one of those things that's like also very forgiving if you do mess up. That's one thing that I've learned about it, like that I like a lot. Like and
expand a little bit more, because I think this is important, and I want more people to hear about it.
Yeah, so like, because if you mess up in other investments, you're screwed. You're just out money. But with real estate, it's like, if you buy something for the long term, and I think like literally the worst thing that could possibly happen is, I mean, you can't even overpay really if you're having an appraisal done and there's market value there. Shoot, like it's so hard to put it, but it's just like, if you can mess up in regards to, maybe you're not getting the rental income that you thought you would get, right? So you were expecting $1,600 a month, and then in return, you ended up getting $1,400 or $1,500 even, right? Actually, I have a good example. In 2021, when the market was super hot, like I couldn't find a rental property for the life of me that was cash flowing, like a good amount of cash flow, because I wanted minimum 300 per door, right? Like 250, 300 per door. I couldn't find anything in 2021. My real estate coach, who has over 100 something properties, and he just told me, it's like Tein, like it is what it is. What you need to do is just go out there and buy a property, regardless if it cash flows or not. And here's the reason why, because I'm glad I did that as well. So I bought the property. It didn't cash flow for me until the new lease was coming up, which took about an entire year. But during that time frame, I bought it for $220. A year later, that property is now worth about $260. So I gained about $40,000 in equity. And on top of it, that year later, I was able to renew the lease, get it up to market rent. Now I'm making 400 something per door. So $800 just off that property, because I listened to him and was just like, he was right, because I was spending about, I was searching for about 3-4 months, and dollar, opportunity cost. What's my dollar per hour? Like, how much time am I spending looking at this? And it got to a point where it was like, look, we're just going to go submit an offer. We'll pay it over asking. It is what it is. It won't cash flow for that entire year. I went into that property negative at first for the entire year, because I actually had to pay the water bill. So like I was negative on that property, but during that time frame, I gained $60,000 in equity. And the following year, literally within 2-3 months, it caught up, and you're able to do that when obviously you have some extra cash on the side. But in return, like now I can use that equity to go buy other properties. And that's the thing. A lot of people just look at, even if you're looking, if you're looking to do a flip, you mess up, the numbers aren't there on the flip, right? Your worst case scenario, you can turn that thing into a rental. Like You can refinance it out, get out of the hard money loan, or if you bought it cash, whatever it is, turn that into a flip. And then if you buy a flip, if you buy a long-term, if you do a complex long-term rental, and the numbers don't work where you need to refinance to get out of that hard money loan or private money, whatever it is, you can also just simply, what you can also do is just simply turn that into a flip. So there's it's one of those like investment thing, like as long as you have somebody by you guiding, because there's so many ways to get out of stuff. Like even if you're, like if you're trying to, you bought a fixer upper and then trying to turn it into a rental and you refinance out of it, but then the loan to value is too high or whatever, you can actually just go out and go find a non-QM loan to refinance out of that, which is going to be less restriction. There's a lot of ways that you can get out of trouble in real estate. Like, I mean, it's just crazy. It's one of those investings that I highly recommend people to get into, because that's how people have built generational wealth. Like within the 3 years, I've picked up about 13 doors, and like adding up the equity, which I haven't really done on all of them, but adding up the equity on all of them, it has to be easily over like 1.5 million within 3-4 years of getting into it, right? And the good thing is too, it's one of those things that you can also leverage your equity to go buy more. So yeah, I mean, there are problems that come out of rentals, but that's where if you're like-minded, if you're like-minded, you problem solve. Problem pop up, let me fix it. How can I prevent it from happening again? And like there's 2 ways of investing in the industry. If you're buying rentals, you can do it where you buy like a bunch of properties, or you buy 5-10 properties, fully pay all of them off, and you're cash flow and you're good, right? Because not everybody wants to get 100+ properties, right? Like you're good with literally 5-10 rentals, and you can cover your monthly expenses, whatever, right? So, but yeah, real estate.
Getting at it, just do it, right? Like
it's one of those things you just
get it.
You just have to do it, because it's the first thing is the hardest one, but then like for me, I have like I said, I have the opposite problem right now. Like I want more and more, and then I'm like, I can go get more, but then I know there's other stuff that has to be done on the back end to actually manage it properly. So it's tricky, but
yeah. Just do it. If Tein can do it, became a multi-millionaire under 30 years old, then you can do that too. And I'm feeling behind, bro. Like listening to your stories, I need to get into it.
You're in the best state for it as well.
Actions.
You're in the best state as well. That's where I want to get it. My next short-term rental is going to be in Florida.
Come over.
Well, are you by Disney?
3 hours away.
Yeah, I want to get something by Disney.
Okay.
So that's something that I think it's always going to be going and going and going, hopefully.
Yes. And there's a lot of new constructions nearby. Like in Orlando area, there's a lot of new constructions going. There is very attractive because more people are getting into it. So
and one thing too is like the people, because the one thing I'm sure you run into as well, the people that rent, like they get stuck on the interest rate, and it's like, guys, you're literally at 100% interest rate when you're paying somebody else's mortgage. Like that's the one thing that drives me nuts when I talk to a buyer and like, oh, but the interest rate's 6%. I'm like, okay, but like, what's your interest rate at your rent? It's 100. Yeah, and no equity being built. There's no equity. I'm like, oh, that's a good point. So that's one thing too. There's one thing, like if you're a renter out there and you listen, like there, obviously not always it makes sense to become a homeowner, but I feel like a lot of the times, like if you're a responsible person and you can save, you can work hard, like it's an amazing investment vehicle to get into.
Yes. All right, thanks. So tell us, what are you working after getting up every morning? What's your mission? What's your drive? We want to see what's going.
Yeah, my drive right now is really just wanting better, just wanting better for my family, just be like, when I have kids, I don't want them to have to go through similar things that I went through. And just being able to provide for my mom and dad, just being able to do whatever the heck I want when I want. Like that's something I think like majority of my brothers got from my mom is just we're very like out there. It's like, look, I'll do what I want when I want. So
Love
yeah,
that.
what drives me is just really I'm looking at the future, my kids, my family, being able to take them out to a trip with everybody to wherever the heck everyone wants to go, pay for it all. You know, that's like one of my goals, one of my
Yeah.
dreams.
All right,
Yeah.
so give us one takeaway from Tein Hlwa today. If you didn't get to hear anything or doesn't remember everything that we talked about, but we want you to know this one thing.
Yeah. It's, you know, whenever you're venturing into something, you know, people are used to what they're comfortable with, right? So like that's like nobody likes change because they're just comfortable with it. And even though the change might be for the better good, they're just so comfortable with it, so they're scared to take that leap. And you know, I always tell like just try to picture what the worst case scenario would be. And a lot of times the worst case scenario isn't as bad as people think it is. And the pros always out, like that's how I normally do my decision making, the pros and cons. And like it's just, yeah, take that leap of faith if you're thinking about, you know, doing something new, whether it's going into a new job, whatever, because there's just so many opportunities out there. Like if you start this real estate journey, right, and then things don't work out, you can go find another job somewhere else. Like at least you tried, chase after your dreams, right? And then after you do chase after your dreams, whatever it is, don't get complacent. You know, one valuable thing that I learned from a book is it's called The Slight Edge. And like the things we do every day, it seems like it's doing nothing, but compounded over time, it leads to where you're going to be at in life. So like, for example, you work out, you don't see the results for 3, 4, 5, 6 months, right? Same thing with life. You're doing something shitty every single day. Like if it's something that you shouldn't be doing, you don't see the results of that on day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 30. You don't see any of that, but you will see it further out. And the same thing with people that are successful. They just, things that we've done is just compounded over time. And then that's where we end up at, right? So that's my advice. So
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you, brother. Thank you so much
thank you
for
as
sharing
well.
your stories. And you know, I'm feeling really inspired by your stories, and I need to take more action. So, and you know, I'm hoping that all the audience that's watching right now, you know, got all these golden nuggets, and then you know, make it work. And then if you guys want to move to Virginia, and then we have our brother Tein Hlwa there. And if you want to get in touch with more with Tein, then I'll have his contact information, phone numbers, and everything's in the video. So
Thank you
all
so
right.
much. Appreciate you having me.
See
All
you.
right, see ya.
Bye-bye.